dream, it appeared to be real. And it was real as an experience. Simply all the things that appeared and disappeared were not as real as we thought while dreaming. This is the same. The scale is a bit different, but basically it's not so different. It's real as an experience. Right now, the experience is real, but all the things that are appearing and disappearing in that dream, they are not as real as we think they are. And so we just play a role in a dream. Having a whole life story there, getting born, growing up, getting married, having kids, getting old, and then we die. But then one wakes up and becomes aware, oh, it was not really real. It was like a dream. All that appeared to be so real was so real because we believed in the reality of it. Like when we dream in the night, now within this dream, we have a second dream, go to sleep. In the night we dream. We believe in the reality of it when we dream, then we wake up. Oh, it wasn't real, it was a dream. And yet, the experience is real. It's real as an experience right now. Simply all that comes along with it is momentary appearance and not solid reality. It is always very helpful to remind oneself of that. This is not as real as it appears. If we stop taking it as the reality, it stops being threatening. If we know that we are just playing a role in a dream, then we know, okay, all kinds of funny things may happen in this dream, but nothing can really hurt me. Somebody at the gate is exciting the dogs. Well. Part of the dream. If we stop being afraid of this world, then there is a natural sense of ease and peace and joyousness. No matter what is going on in the dream, that is not really disturbed. It's just because of the identification with the happenings, with the appearances, that we lose that sense of peace and ease and joyousness. It could be so easy, and we make it so difficult. We just have to sincerely try. We just have to sincerely go about it. Remind ourselves. Come on. Don't take this so serious. Don't take it as the reality. But then things start to flow all by themselves. Easy. Still, there will be always challenges. There will be always difficult situations in the dream. But whatever happens, if we remember, oh, it's just a dream-like appearance. That solid core there is cannot be disturbed. It's simply there. And we can bring the attention back to that and be at ease, at peace. Somebody once told me, but finding peace, is that all? Is that all? I mean, what's the point of all that? It's of course not all. But as long as we are attached and agitated and full of tensions, then difficulties seem to be so big, and there is no chance that we go beyond that experience. That's why it's important that we come back to that peaceful present. Once we are rooted in that, the experience will start to unfold all by itself. Somebody is in the compound and it's exciting Jasmine because she's afraid of people, so she goes on making noise. Sudha is taking care of the situation, but still she has a bit of crazy character. We also have characters like that. Everyone has their own little funny things in their character. As long as it's not pulling us out of that peaceful, basic experience, they don't matter. Let us appear in whatever which way. But if our tendencies, our vasanas, our character is pulling us all the time out of that peacefulness, then we can do something about it. Some people tell me, but I'm just like this, I can't do anything. No, this is not true. These characteristics, tendencies may have been there from the beginning, but then we have developed it and strengthened it without being aware of it, and we can undo what we unconsciously have built. It's not that we have to become holier and holier and holier, and finally we are pure, and then we can see reality. You are that purity right now. And changing tendencies is not for the sake of becoming holier. Changing certain characteristics is simply when we become aware they are an obstacle to simply naturally being. And then it's good to work on them, to weaken them, and eventually drop them, that they don't pull the attention all the time out of the natural state. Why should we have peace? Why should we go for peace? Why? Because it's natural. And if we leave consciousness at peace, then the experience, the love, the power. Everything will unfold naturally, effortlessly, spontaneously, beautifully. Whatever is happening in the story, we can accept it as a challenge and getting stronger and stronger to be capable of being rooted in that natural, peaceful state, in spite of what is happening. Even if we don't fully succeed, every attempt is worth it. Not one single effort is in vain. Subtly, it builds up something very precious. That doesn't change the essence, but it changes the capacity how we can consciously connect with that essence, instead of having that as something unconscious in the background and being hooked into whatever is happening on this level all the time. Life is sometimes so full of drama, relationships. Then the difficulty is to have enough money. Then the neighbors who are always nasty. Whatever stories there are, we can hook into them and get very upset about them and depressed about them and angry and whatever. Or we can accept, okay, it's part of the dream. It's a challenge. It's again an opportunity to become stronger in that capacity of not being attached to the happenings, to the appearances, and bring the attention back home to the self, to the natural, peaceful state. It's not even difficult. We just have to sincerely go about it. If we consequently do that whenever we remember, it's getting easier and easier until it's becoming just the natural way of existing, the natural way of functioning. Okay, my friends, now I've been talking all alone. I'm asking you, is there anyone who would like to come in? You're welcome to come in.
Hello.
Hello, Leora.
It's me. Yeah, the first one as usual. I'm very excited because you started speaking about night dreams, and I was planning to ask you about dreams.
Yeah.
So it's nice, this kind of connection. What I wanted to ask was about the sense of time in dreams. What I felt last night when I had, I think, two very intense, I would say, dreams. It felt like it was going on all night. Actually, when I woke up from the dreams, it happened twice and I went back to sleep. But it felt like, usually with the dreams, it feels like it's going on all night. But actually, as far as I know, dreams take maybe a few minutes or few seconds, I'm not sure. So I thought also about our life, about when there is drama going on or something going on, and we no, not so much about this, but about our sense of time in real life, I would say. What the mind actually does with the time, let's say when I have to wait for the bus and it's 40 minutes, so it feels like a long time. But then when I think about it, I say, 40 minutes, you just sit here and watch the cars go by and you watch the people coming and going, and it goes like that. I mean, and of course, I want it to go like that because it's not so pleasant to wait. So it's a whole, it's like a relationship with the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, but also I wonder why when I wake up from a dream, it feels like it was, what happens to the mind there, that it feels like it was going on. It's like a whole story was going on for a long time. That was what I felt actually.
Yes. And in that dream reality, it went on for a long time. But time is something totally relative and completely dependent on the experience. As you have already pointed out, everybody knows that to some extent, that when we do something that we don't like very much, then time seems to go very slow. And if we are in circumstances where we like it, then whoop, the time flies. Oh, it's already gone, already finished.
Right, yeah.
And so you shift from one level to another, like from this waking state to the dream, and time has a total different aspects there. And within the dream, you still will produce time like we are producing it in our mind on this level. And then a story can go long, but then when you come out of that level, of that dream state, and you are again joining into this waking dream, then on this level, there was very little time that left, that went. But your experience still was there, that much time has been passed. And so we have also our time here, which we are measuring with the movement of the planets and the sun and the moon, you know, with the rotation of the earth, so that we can measure it. But the psychological experience of time is something that we are producing. And if we stop that, then suddenly you are in the present, and that present becomes timeless.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask about what you said about characteristics that one has, and specifically those which we don't like. I felt it was that for me, it depends also on the stories that I've lived with about when it comes to relationships, when there is a characteristic that I feel is maybe not pleasant that I have, then I start worrying, what was he thinking when I was saying that or doing that and all that. And if I make a stop there, if I notice those thoughts and I just say, well, what's done. I mean, sometimes, of course, I can try to prevent some situations, but sometimes it goes like that, and oops, I did it again, or I said it again, and then I say, oh, now the person will start thinking so and so, and maybe be upset or thinking bad things about me or whatever. But if I let go of those thoughts, then also the whole event, of course, is like, what can I do? I mean, it's part of my personality. I am responsible for it up to a point. I'm doing my best, but sometimes it's just like, and just like happens.
Yeah. Now, it's not so much, I didn't say those characteristics that we don't like. We have to remove them. It's not so much about liking them or not liking them, but we have certain pattern of functioning which invariably pull our attention completely away from the essence and get us more attached on the relative level. And those, it's worth the trouble to really take care of them, that they stop having that power. After that, whether you change little idiosyncrasies, how is it called? Idiosyncrasies? No, it's not quite right. Anyhow, some funny things in our character, whether we are changing them or not, is not so important. What is important, like in the situation you described, you said something, but then after that, the tendency is there to worry about that you have said like this, and then that is really pulling you out. So work on that worry first. And if after that you think anyhow it would be better that I learn to control my reactions a bit more, then you still can do that. But that which pulls you out of your equanimity, that are the characteristics that need to be worked on, because otherwise they always will pull us out and disturb that peace and keep us locked in our personal story.
Okay, so this is the reactivity that they teach in there. So much to watch the reactivity and to try to, maybe, I don't know, control. I don't like the word control, but yeah.
I mean, if one, let's say somebody has a real problem with anger.
Yeah.
And then that anger is always pulling that person out of that natural peacefulness. And then it's really, it makes sense that that person learns to somehow or other recognize the anger before it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Or even when it has happened, that one stops feeding the anger long after the situation has gone and learns to detach from it. Because if the detachment is not there, then this always will pull the consciousness down on a lower way of functioning. So it's not so much a moral thing. It's simply that we learn to deal with our life energy, that it is constructive, expansive, instead of being often destructive.
Okay. That's another way. It's new for me to hear it the way you describe it now.
Now, certain characteristics may not be liked by other people, but you don't have a problem with it. And you don't have a problem that some people don't like it, and then you don't really need to worry about it. That is also a part of the thing that we have to look at and get rid of, being always so concerned what people think about us. And then if we let that go, after that we still can think, maybe I could learn to react a bit less. That would be not a bad thing, because sometimes unnecessarily I may hurt somebody. But no matter how much you form your correct character, people have expectations, and never everybody will be happy with how we are behaving. Some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder actually if we really are so worried about it, or I mean, if it has a base in the reality. I mean, it's a tendency again of the mind, but I wonder if people actually have so much time to worry about all these stories that, I mean, if I said something, or if they're not hurt, they probably will forget it after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Probably, I'm not sure. But I think that we have the tendency, at least I do, to not any longer though, but I used to, not any longer. I'm too old to waste my energy, my life energy to think about I
But
said something or did.
yeah, it's also the same old problem of identifying with the person. I am this person, and of course, if I am this person, then I want other persons have a good idea about myself, that they like
Yeah,
me, and they don't.
yeah. But
It's
we can't.
that worry about what people think and feel is because I identify with that person instead of being aware this person is just like a channel through which I'm connecting on this level. It's a role that I'm playing in this theater. And then I behave in certain ways that some people don't like it, and then so what? But I don't, once I'm free of that attachment to the personality, once I'm stopping identifying with that personality, then also I'm not going out being destructive and hurtful unnecessary. But still, some people will sometimes be hurt because they have their fixed ideas how we should behave, and that we don't have to become slaves to the expectations of everybody.
Yeah, that's a whole subject for itself, which I've been thinking about it, and you've said it before, and it's good to be reminded about that again and again, because it's a tendency that we all seem to have.
It's totally connected with the identification of the me separate from everybody else. And so the separate me wants to feel good with the idea that others feel good about me, that they like me, that they think I'm a great person. But that identification prevents us from becoming aware, hey, I am not this person, I'm just playing it, and prior to that, and nothing can hurt and affect this being, really.
Yeah, and not hurt the other beings also, I would say, probably. I mean, maybe that's the way.
You know, we don't need really moral rules to function sanely. The main important thing is that we bring the attention back to the natural peaceful state. And if we are in that natural peaceful state, we are not going around hurting other living beings unnecessarily. Why? It's simply not natural. We are doing that because we have become unnatural, and then there are these grudges and I want revenge and God knows what, and there we do all kinds of destructive nonsense. But if you are basically at peace, then we are not hurting unnecessarily. Nevertheless, I'm saying unnecessarily. As I said, people have expectations and we cannot always fulfill them, and then they may feel hurt. But it's not really that you are hurting then that person, but that person is hurting, they are hurting themselves with their own expectations, which are again also coming out of their identification with the personality.
Yeah. Okay, this is good to remember.
Right. Shall we leave it at that?
Yeah.
Right.
Thank
Hariom.
Werner. Hariom.
You're welcome. Hariom.
Hariom.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. See, we are very few today. So the few who are here, do you want to talk? What is needed is detachment. It comes in all the traditions, and it's a bit misunderstood as if it is a moral rule. It's holier to be detached than to be attached. It's nothing to do with morality in that sense. It has to do with not wasting our life force all the time to force our consciousness to be locked up in that little bubble of the me personality. Detachment can come in all kinds of forms. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to give up all the external possessions and then live as a begging monk or nun. One can be in the midst of life, usual life, and be detached. What matters is what's going on in the mind. Whether I define my well-being by my relationships, by my possessions, by my situation in society, by what the other people think about me, by all these things. In India, for everything are stories. And the Yoga Vasishta is a very nice story about detachment. And often the stories are about kings and queens. So is this story. There was a young king with his young queen, Sikidwacha and Chudalai, living happily. But then they were curious about some more profound sense of life, but then just to enjoy their riches and their power as king. And they invited spiritual teachers who started to instruct them, making them clear that even the king is just a role, it's not what they are. Now, Chudalai, the woman, she had a very pure being, a pure mind already, and immediately she grasped it, and it took very little time. She had a total realization of what she really was, that she was not that queen that she thought, but she became aware of her essence. Now her husband, Sikidwacha, had a harder time with that. So like most of us, we heard the teaching, thought it was fine, but was always worrying. The more he went into that spiritual teaching, the more he was worrying that he thought all this being king and rich is preventing me from becoming more aware. of his essence. And he got more and more gloomy until he decided he has to abandon, he has to detach that attachment to his wife, that attachment to his role as king, the attachment to the riches. All this is preventing him from realizing his own true nature. Now his wife, Chudalai, started to talk to him and try to explain it doesn't really matter. It's a matter of attachment, not of externally having or not having. But he thought, how can you dare to talk like this? Like a spiritual master, you have no right to talk like this, because he couldn't fathom that the greatness of her inner experience. And he got more and more restless. She tried in different ways. She started to do yogic practices to develop certain powers, hoping that she can impress him, that he starts to listen more to him. But he got more and more restless and said, okay, one day he said, you can continue ruling the kingdom. I have to go in the forest. I have to detach. I have to realize my true nature. And she saw that's what he has to do, and let him go. And there he was living, and as an ascetic, alone in the forest, built a little hut there, doing his ceremonies, doing rituals, doing all kinds of things, but somehow it didn't consciously lead him anywhere. Of course, all his efforts still did something, but he wasn't getting more relaxed. She let him go on for years, and then she appeared to him disguised, not as his wife, and started to teach him. And asked him, now you have been living for years in the forest. Have you found peace? And he said, no, I haven't found peace. Are you happy? No, I'm miserable. Actually, I'm more miserable than I was before. I'm just somehow struggling to get my food, going through the day, and try to be an ascetic and detached, and I find no peace and no happiness. And she said, yes, that's exactly what's missing. You haven't any detachment now. And then she left. And he was pondering and thinking, what can the teacher say? I have abandoned the kingdom. I have detached. And she says, I'm not having detachment. So I guess even with my little hut that I have is too much. And he burned his hut down. Then next time Chudalai came and asked, so how is it going? And he said, yes, I understood. Real detachment. I have also burned my hut. And she said, you have absolutely not learned anything about detachment, and left again. And so it goes on, the story for quite some time. Whatever he did, she came back and said, you still don't know detachment, and left again. And he threw away more and more, whatever little he had. And then the final time when she said, you still don't know detachment, he said, okay, now I understand. And he started to climb a mountain and thought the real detachment is that I'm throwing myself there in the abyss. And she came along with him and stopped him and said, still, you haven't understood detachment. It's not the external things that create the attachment. It's how you really relate to them. If you think that you need it to be who you are, then you are attached. The real detachment is letting all these false ideas go. That is detachment. And gradually it started to clear up. All his work over the years had made him now ready to listen. And finally he found his peace. And then only she revealed herself that actually he was his wife, his queen. And he understood that he doesn't need to stay in the forest. He can very well go back with her, take up his role as king again, but in a totally different attitude. We can be attached to whatever damn little thing. It's not so matter how much possessions we have or how much we are involved in the mainstream life or not. What matters is whether we make our well-being dependent on that. Anyhow, Sikhi-Vacha went back with Chudalai and they lived ever happily, ruling their kingdom, being at ease, at peace, in the midst of that power position, in the midst of the riches. Because finally Sikhi-Vacha also understood he is independent of that. His well-being is not dependent on any of this. And once that was clear, then it was not more an obstacle. And he could as well go back and take up his role again. Detachment is not something moral. It's not something that we have externally to force ourselves to do. If that feeling is there, I have to get out of society, I have to live in a monastery, in an ashram, or as a ascetic somewhere in the mountains. If that comes genuinely, then this is the right thing to do. But if somebody doesn't feel like doing so, they need not be afraid. I cannot get anywhere because one needs to be detached. We can be detached in the midst of society. Nisargadatta Maharaj is known to most of you, I guess. He never was an ascetic. He was living his life in his family. The way he earned his money was that he was rolling and selling bidis. Bidis are these little Indian cigarettes. So it's not considered a very holy occupation. But when he met his guru, the guru's teaching went very deep. He continued to live in the same situation, but a new life emerged simply because his attitude started to change about everything that was going on. And he spent his spare time just being focused on being here now, I am. And brought that as good as he could in all his activities. Dealing with his family, bringing up his children, to trading his PD business, rolling his PD, I am. Selling his PDs, I am. Smoking his PDs, I am. And within a relative short time after meeting his guru, his whole experience started to fundamentally change. In spite of living his life in the society. For others, it may be very helpful to get out of the usual humdrum, live by themselves, live in an ashram, live in a monastery. If it is genuine, then that's the right thing to do. But living in a monastery, for example, there one can get totally attached again to all the little things and the hierarchy and whatever is there, equally much like to all the other things in life. So it's really, detachment means that we let go of that idea that I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this in order to be complete, in order to be capable of being happy. Becoming aware that you are the source of your happiness. That joyousness of existence is always there, whether we are aware of it or not. And if we detach, then we become aware, that happiness I have consciously and unconsciously been looking for and running after my whole life is here, is now, it's coming out of myself. That is the real detachment. All right. I have been talking again, and I'm asking you, is there anyone who would like to come in? You're welcome. Now, so here is a question. Somebody wrote a question. Why do you think are people less inclined to form families? So many people are staying alone. They don't want a family. They don't want to have children. Why is this happening? It has very much to do that now people have much more information. Previous in the society, it was much more strongly indoctrinated when growing up. This is how it functions. So this is what one does in life, grows up, learns something, then forms a family and has children and brings them up. And now there are so much more possibilities that, and the trend is there that family is not such an important thing. Now, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. A family can be extremely helpful if a family is harmonious. It can be very helpful for all the members, the parents and the children, to make it easier, to be at peace, to feel secure. But there are not so many families where this is really, really the case. There is often so much tension in the family, and then it doesn't become a haven and prevents often children from developing their potential, because they have always to deal with the tensions that are in the family, and it discourages them to themselves form again a family and think, no, I want to get out of that and have the possibility to be myself. Of course, then most people don't necessarily have the depth that they understand. To find real happiness is to find their essence. And then they go out and try to find happiness alone in the world instead of in the family. And in both ways, you don't find the happiness there. You don't find happiness in the family, nor do you find the happiness not being in the family. It's a family becomes a happy family the more the people are self-sufficient, become aware that their happiness is not dependent of the family. Actually, it's funny for the mind to accept, but the less the people in the family are dependent, the better the family. The more the people in the family understand, my happiness doesn't come from being in a family. This is just my external situation, and thank God I have found a beautiful situation, but my happiness comes out of myself. The more the people in a family have that, at least a glimpse of that experience and understand some of that, the more actually the family will get automatically harmonious and something beautiful. And energetically, it becomes a great support for every one of them. But as long as that understanding is not there, then the family is not a helpful situation to really develop. And naturally, the youngsters have more the tendency to just to get out and find their own way. But then there again, as long as they think I have to go out and find my happiness in the world, then they will get disappointed, because whatever happiness they find, it's always fleeting. It comes, it's there a moment, it goes. Only if they break out of the family and turn then the attention back to themselves, then they can use the liberty of the situation after the tense situation before to find happiness, to become aware the happiness comes out of themselves. It's just a sign of the time that now people are searching, and the old established ways of existing are not more in the same way taken for granted and serious as before, because one can see, okay, it gave a certain stability, but it has not prevented the world to be full of pain and suffering all the time. And then people seek. And as long as the seeking is misguided, that I just have to go out and be able to enjoy and have this fun and that fun, then that seeking also will be futile. But people, it's time that people look for something deeper, and one manifestation is that they don't believe so easily in the value of old established ways. And as I said before, it is not good, it is not bad. Changes are bound to happen. Anyhow, now it's tremendous what kind of energetic struggle is going on, and changes will happen, and out of that something more beautiful and harmonious can grow, and where then the importance of institutions like the family is, I don't know, we'll see. I don't think you should worry about it, that people are less sticking to the old ways one should spend the life. Simply, one has to find the right direction to look for the truth, for stability, for happiness. And then, if we find it in ourselves, we can also help others, radiate it, support others, no matter whether we are in a family or not. Those who are close, they are the first who benefit, but then everybody who comes in contact with somebody who's found that peace and stability in themselves, everybody who comes in contact with such a being is benefited by it. And it radiates also on the subtle level, the whole energetic field is benefiting if we do that work. So don't worry whether people are willing or unwilling to go for families. Each one can try for themselves, can do it, not simply try. To learn to become more and more stable and peaceful. And that's the greatest benefit that we can get and that we can give to the rest of the world. Be in a family or not in a family. I hope I have replied to that question. Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You are welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Retis.
So today you spoke about this real and unreal. What is it? And according to Vedanta, there's only Brahman.
Yes.
And only Brahman is real.
Yes.
And everything else is made, this for everything else substance is also Brahman.
Yes.
So isn't it that everything what is made, the thoughts and all, if it's made of Brahman substance, so it should be real as well?
Yes, but that word real has a very special meaning in the old way of talking. It's with real, they define something that doesn't change.
Yeah.
And so they say only Brahma is real and the other one is continuously changing. Actually, Shankara's thing is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mityam. He doesn't say it's unreal, he says it's relative, but it's usually translated as unreal. But Mithya doesn't really say it's not real, it simply says it's relative. So in that sense, momentarily, the experience is real. But what we are projecting is maybe not at all what it is. We see with our human senses, with our eyes, we see in a certain way. I see now these glasses and I can describe it, but I can touch it with my body. But if we had other sense perceptions, then it would look totally different. It wouldn't be the same thing anymore. If you would see energies, then everything would be energy instead of solid matter. So it's not real in the sense that it is continuously changing. It's not stable. The essence is what it is. and all the rest is continuously changing. But it doesn't make it non-existent. It's just that if we think it is real, and somehow as soon as we think so strongly it's real, then we also have the tendency to make our happiness, our well-being dependent that that reality is in a certain way and not in another way. And that leads invariably again to frustration and suffering, because even if we struggle and bend our circumstances that they please us, they change all the time. Anyhow, we achieve something and already it's changing and something is happening, and there is always that thing that is still nagging in spite of whatever we do. But if we don't take it as the reality, but accept it, it's a momentary expression of reality. And then we don't hang on so much to it and bring the attention back to the essence, that which doesn't change. And then we can say the world is real or unreal. Both is not quite true. Both is not quite wrong. But you are right. Everything is a manifestation, you can say, of Brahman, of that divinity. And in that sense, momentarily real as an appearance, but that appearance changes all the time. The essence remains, the appearance changes. So if you don't like the word unreal, then maybe you can be okay with that Brahman is real and the whole rest is relative.
So that's mean what they in Sanskrit call mithya, yeah?
Mithya, yeah, right. Mithya
And-
doesn't mean really unreal. It doesn't mean non-existence. It means more something that you could translate as relative.
Relative, yeah. So then, for example, the detachment, when we want to detach from the problems or emotions, what we don't like. So if those all stuff and emotions and thoughts are made also from same substance, they speak Brahman.
Yeah.
So if we want to detach, shouldn't be that we just look through or acknowledge that this stuff is also made of Brahman. Because if we want to detach in a human way, so we try to separate from that in distance.
Yes.
But we cannot distance from the ourselves or from this Brahman. So shouldn't we just the shifting of attention from the problem to the, I mean, I'm Brahman, real this.
Right. If you are capable of doing so, that in the emotion you are capable of seeing that's also an expression of Brahman, you definitely are already detached from the emotion.
Yeah, but in the emotion, it's not possible. It's overwhelming. It just later comes. So that's the problem.
Yeah, right. Then you can later say, okay, the emotion was also a manifestation of Brahman, but that doesn't mean I have to still cling to that habit of having a destructive emotion again and again.
But also, we do not need to the distance or reject it completely, because it was expression and it was also made from the same stuff.
Exactly. There is absolutely nothing wrong with emotions. It's part of the human experience. What is wrong is that then we have the tendency to totally get attached to it and feed our life energy into it, and then they become bigger and bigger and totally out of proportion. And then it's starting to get problematic. But if we don't do that, then the emotions, they are part of the human experience and make the human experience actually more beautiful, more juicy. As long as you are appearing in a human form, there will be the whole range of emotions there as a potential, and they come and go. But if they come and go, they come, they stay a moment, they go, they don't create a problem. They don't leave a trace. They create a problem if I'm head on plunging in the emotion and make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually it's becoming destructive.
So do not make it bigger. One means to remember the essence, right? Or how you say, return to yourself, to the heart.
Right. You can become aware that there are emotions, and at the same time learn to be aware. And there is that silent aspect also there, in spite of the emotion, unaffected by it. And then you can enjoy the emotion when it comes and let it go when it goes. It's both. There are the emotions one doesn't like, and then one struggles with it and makes them bigger, or is just to unconsciously completely overwhelmed and makes it bigger. But wants to get rid of it, and instead in that gives it again too much importance. Or then there are the emotions one likes, and then I want to hold on to, because it's pleasant to have that emotion. And then damn it, in spite of the trying to hold on to, it still goes. But then if we can learn to see the emotions for what they are, that they are energy, waves of energy, feelings that then connect, of course, with the mind and create thoughts, that they come, that they are an expression of the essence. They stay there a moment, they go, then you can enjoy the emotions as they come and as they go. You don't want to hold on to, you don't want to reject them. You can actually enjoy also those emotions which we previously didn't like. Those emotions that created trouble, they created trouble because we got attached to them and then got often into actions that created problems, and then we don't want them anymore. But if we can just see the emotions as they come, then we can enjoy the weirdest emotions as they come and let them go as they go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Yeah, I would like to ask something about, or Nelly. Oh,
Yeah,
close,
Nelly
so
can
it will
come
be
after
short.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But what I feel for myself is when there is a so-called negative emotion, I seem to react somehow stronger rather than when I have this good emotion, when I sit on my porch and I feel very concentrated and very connected.
Yes.
And then it's more neutral. It's
Yes.
not so much that I feel the energy. I don't feel that I want to attach to it.
Yes.
Somehow there is trust. There is trust there more and more, of course, that it will, I don't know, come back, or it's there anyway. Not so much this great, sometimes I'm so-called happy, but it's not so much happiness when I'm doing something that I really enjoy, like having a cup of coffee sometimes in the nearest town, small town, or I'm happy, yeah. But no, really, it makes me happy every, I don't know, few weeks or so. But this sensation of this connection is more neutral. There isn't so much energy around it.
Right. So now, what is the question? Why are you more intense about the emotions that you don't like? Or
when I want them to go away.
Yeah, right.
like I'm, I understand when I'm happy when I'm having the coffee, and in 10 minutes it will go away, this sort of happiness or joy.
Yeah.
And then, but so I don't hold, but when it's negative, then there is so much more energy
Right.
involved.
Because there is a struggle in the mind. If there is an emotion you like, then you don't have a problem with it. But since you are quite conscious, you are conscious that there are emotions. Most people are not even aware of their emotions, but you are conscious there come emotions and you don't want those emotions, and then there comes a struggle. And for that, it's good to what we just talked with Ritis, that we don't have to fight against so-called negative emotions. Just see them, and then if we see them, they are not getting bigger and bigger and destructive. And first, it's a bit weird if we have the habit that we totally fight against negative emotions, then just to open up and accept, let them come, and accept them also as an expression of life. But then instead of being pushed into nonsensical actions, learn to just see what they are really doing to your experience right now. And if we stop resisting, first it may feel very ugly in the body, like a not nice emotion comes and you look what it is doing, and it feels very ugly in the body, because also mainly there is a resistance. And if we learn not to resist, then even those emotions that we thought they are very bad and very unpleasant, then they stop being that, and you can enjoy even negative emotions. And then when you see them like this, then both the positive and the negative, they leave you in that neutral state that you still can connect.
How could you enjoy negative emotions? But I don't expect you to answer. I can wait and see maybe and tell you about it if it happens. To enjoy, to enjoy negative. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, shall we ask Nelly to come in?
Thank you. Yeah, Ariel.
Did you try to come in, Nelly?
Yes. Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
Everybody. Yeah. It's very close to me what you talk today in the beginning and after that about attachment.
Yes.
And recently I had some glimpses, I see it, about fear, because this emotion is very strong in me.
Yes.
And I felt something like awareness that this is how to say, one moment, that this is just my illusion, that this is what I create in myself, as you say, but it's not easy to aware it. But recently something like this happened, that I saw that this fear is, yes, it's my illusion. And if I'm connected with this divinity, what you tell about, I don't need to be afraid. I'm really safe. Whatever happens, I don't should care of anything, of how it will happen, on how it is. Just my job is just to be connected with this divinity, and whatever happens, it really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Yes, it was it was yes, really very important for me to see it, just to feel it for some time. Yes, and I remind myself, I try to remind myself after that, anytime I feel some worries, something like fear or something like this, that just connect with this divinity and let it be like it will be, and don't care about it. From the other side, I see how my mind can stick to just very small things, not very important things, but it rounds and rounds about some full things. Yes. For example, I don't like something like one person does. It isn't something bad, very bad. Something doesn't hurt anyone and doesn't hurt me and doesn't does something bad to me directly. Yes, but in my mind, I think
it's irritating.
yes, it's irritating, and I learned to attach from it. I say that why should I stick to one's to another one person's behavior? Why should I go in this? Why it should be in my life? I just to do what I do and to be responsible for myself. Why should I look at this and be irritated? And I see it, and how you say, why should my happiness be dependent of what he does? Why should I be dependent of it? I remind it to myself and try to come back from this. I see it's a process. It's really not easy for me. Mind goes out. Yeah.
Right. Actually, it's good that you say this. That on one hand, you see the big worldwide problems, and then you learn to accept that what is happening and not to get into destructive fear emotion. And actually, it's not that you become indifferent, it's just that you accept what is, and you don't add negativity by being terrorized by it. That's great. But then in the individual life, what you're describing is very much what is happening to everybody. All these damn little annoying things that come, and we have the tendency, if we are not watchful, to stick to it and turn around it and turn it around, because although it's absolutely not important.
Yes.
Right. That's what comes out of the mind that has been formed like this, growing up, being taught that you are a person, that you are separate, and then your personal life, of course, is always a struggle with everything around. And we learn to function like this, that everything in my personal life is very, very, very important. And even if we then start to see that and start to detach and relax from it, the old habit still is there. But it's good that that one sees then, oh, look, what am I doing now? Now I'm holding on to this thing as if it was so big and important, but it's just a little thing. If I'm not making it in my personal life as a big problem, so all these human dramas, they are mind created out of the old habit of functioning like this. And if we don't do, if we see it, that we still do it, then you can also be patient with yourself and accept, okay, the old habit pushes me to do so, but when I observe it, I'm not strengthening that habit, and it becomes less and less and less.
Yes. Thank you, Werner. I'll try.
Yes, it's very good.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Oh, Werner, I see you are in your previous house now.
Yes, I'm back here. The work is not finished. It has been raining yesterday and today, so they stopped working, but the roof is as much again repaired that I can be here on the roof again.
Okay, my congratulations. I'm happy to hear it.
Suda still keeps the other place as an escape during the daytime when the workers are here. But we spend the nights again here in our house. And if the weather is getting better, then within a few days it should be finished.
Okay, okay, happy to hear this. My best regards to Suda.
I will tell it. I will tell her. I believe. Hario, Hario.
Hari Om.
Right. Since we are talking already about emotions, fear, for example, is an emotion one eschews. It's terrible. But even fear, if we are not attached, if we can see the emotion coming, if we can see what it is doing to our experience, physically, energetically, emotionally, intellectually, then it stops to be a threatening experience. And you can use every emotion, positive or negative, you can use the emotion, the energy in the emotion to turn the attention back to the self, to the essence. And the more you are capable of doing so, the more you can enjoy the emotions. Even emotions like fear, even emotions like sadness. If we don't let emotions grow out of proportion, but keep them on their level where they belong, they are definitely an enriching aspect of the human experience. We just have to learn to deal with them wisely and with detachment, being aware. You are prior to that. There is something like a rock, immovable. And then the emotions, the thoughts, the happenings, everything comes and goes and is played. Then we can go through life playfully, joyously, learning all the time, expanding the experience, but not by way of pain and suffering, but playful, joyous. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.